The snow fell in thick sheets across the colony world of Epsilon 7, a planet where winter lasted 11 months of the standard galactic year. Alara, call sign Omega, stood at the frost-covered window of her research station, watching the white expanse stretch endlessly toward the horizon. She was the only human on this godforsaken rock, sent here by the Terran Science Directorate to study the planet's unique crystalline formations. Loneliness had become her companion, along with the howling wind that never seemed to rest. The scratching sound came first, soft, insistent, almost desperate. Alara turned from her data screens, frowning. The station's external sensors hadn't detected any movement, which meant whatever was out there was either very small or very good at avoiding detection. She walked to the reinforced entrance hatch, checking the external camera feed. Her breath caught .5 creatures huddled against her door, their bodies covered in a thin layer of ice and snow. They weren't cats, not exactly, but the resemblance was uncanny. Feline faces with large, luminous eyes that reflected the station's exterior lights. Sleek bodies, slightly larger than Earth cats, with fur that shimmered even beneath the frost. Their ears were pointed, almost crystalline in appearance, and they moved with a grace that seemed impossible given how frozen they appeared. One of them looked directly into the camera, and Alara could have sworn it was pleading. "This is insane," she muttered to herself. Every protocol screamed at her not to open that door. Unknown xenofauna, potential contamination, possible hostility. But those eyes, the scratching came again. Weaker this time. Alara's hand moved to the door controls before her rational mind could stop her. "I'm going to regret this," she whispered, initiating the decontamination airlock sequence. The outer door hissed open. The 5 creatures tumbled inside as one mass of freezing fur and desperation. The moment the inner door sealed behind them, Alara grabbed thermal blankets from the emergency supplies, wrapping each creature carefully. They didn't resist. Instead, they pressed against her hands, seeking warmth with an urgency that broke her heart. Okay, she murmured, carrying them one by one to the common area where the heating vents pumped warm air. "You're safe now." As the ice melted from their fur, Alara got her first clear look at them. They were beautiful, otherworldly beautiful. Their fur held an iridescent quality, shifting between silver and pale blue. Those crystalline ears weren't just for show. They actually appeared to be partially composed of the same mineral formations she'd been studying. Impossible, yet here they were. The largest of the 5, a male with darker markings around his eyes, raised his head and made a sound that wasn't quite a meow. It was deeper, more resonant, almost like a musical note. Then he spoke. "Thank you, Human Omega." Alara fell backward, scrambling away until her back hit the wall. "You? What? How?" The creature's eyes widened, and he lowered his head in what appeared to be an apologetic gesture. "Forgive the intrusion into your mind speech. I am Skarn, navigator of the Frozen 5. We did not mean to frighten you." Mind speech. Alara's scientific training was warring with her shock. "You're telepathic?" Only when, desperate, Skarn's voice echoed in her mind, carrying with it waves of exhaustion and gratitude. "Our ship crashed 3 cycles of your planet's rotation ago. The others didn't survive." Alara's mind raced. A spacecraft. Survivors. First contact. Actual first contact. And it was happening in her isolated research station with 5 freezing alien cats. The absurdity of it all almost made her laugh, but the seriousness in Skarn's telepathic voice kept her grounded. "Your ship crashed? Where?" Skarn's head tilted toward the western mountains, barely visible through the storm. "The Crystal Peaks. We sought refuge there, but the cold, it drains us. We sensed your warmth, your life energy. We had no choice but to seek your aid." The other 4 creatures had recovered enough to sit up, watching Alara with those impossibly large eyes. She could feel something now, a gentle presence at the edge of her consciousness, like multiple hands reaching out but politely waiting at a threshold. "It's okay," she said aloud, then felt foolish. Could they understand her speech, or only her thoughts? I mean, you can all connect? Is that the right word? A chorus of voices filled her mind, each distinct yet harmonious. Gratitude, relief, hope, and underneath it all, a profound sadness. Skarn seemed to be the spokesperson. "We are explorers, Human Omega. The Frozen 5, though we were once the Frozen 12. Our mission was to catalog worlds in this sector, to understand the universe's diversity. We never expected to find a world so hostile, yet so beautiful. And you never expected to find a human, Elara added, understanding dawning. We're supposed to be rare out here. This sector isn't even fully charted by the Terran fleets. Humans, Skarn's mental voice carried a note of wonder, are legendary among the star-faring species. The ones who refuse to die. The ones who looked at the void and built ships from stubbornness and mathematics. The ones who survived their own world's attempts to kill them and then decided to live among the stars anyway. Elara felt her cheeks warm. She'd heard the stories, humanity's reputation in the galaxy as the species too stubborn to know when to quit. The ones who saw a problem and simply persisted until it wasn't a problem anymore. I'm just a researcher, she said quietly. You are alone on a death world of ice, conducting science for the benefit of your species, Skarn corrected gently. You are exactly what the stories describe. One of the smaller creatures, a female with markings like frost on a window, pressed against Elara's leg. The physical contact strengthened the mental connection, and suddenly Elara could feel what they felt. The bone-deep cold that had been killing them. The fear of dying light years from home. The desperate hope that had driven them to seek out the only source of warmth they could sense. And now, the overwhelming relief of safety. Your ship, Elara said, her mind already working through possibilities. Can it be repaired? Skarn's ears drooped. The damage is extensive. We lack the materials, the tools, the energy. But you have a human now, Elara interrupted, standing up with sudden determination. The 5 creatures looked at her with what could only be described as hope. And humans? We specialize in making impossible repairs with insufficient resources. It's kind of our thing. She moved to her communication console, fingers flying across the holographic interface. I'm sending a priority signal to the Terran Science Directorate and the nearest diplomatic corps station. First contact protocol, crashed vessel, survivors in need of assistance. She glanced back at the Frozen 5. They'll send a proper rescue and recovery team, but in the meantime, Elara pulled up her station's resource inventory and the geological surveys of the crystal peaks. In the meantime, I've got a fabricator, enough raw materials to work with, and 3 months of supplies. Plus, those crystalline formations you crashed near, I've been studying them for 6 months. I know their properties better than anyone. Skarn stood, and the other 4 followed suit. They arranged themselves in a semicircle around her, and she felt their minds touch hers again. But this time, it wasn't just communication. It was sharing. Technical specifications of their ship flooded her consciousness. The nature of their propulsion system, the materials needed for repairs, all delivered with a precision that made her gasp. You're giving me everything, she whispered. Your technology, your ship's designs. You saved our lives without hesitation, Skarn replied simply. You are human, a species that has never conquered, only explored. A species that extends hands before weapons. The stories are true, and you have proven them. Trust is the only currency that matters now. Elara felt tears prick her eyes. She'd been alone for so long, drowning in data and isolation. Now, standing in her small research station with 5 telepathic alien cats who believed in her species more than she sometimes believed in herself, she felt something shift inside her chest. All right, she said, wiping her eyes and calling up her engineering subroutines. Let's see about getting you home. Fair warning though, human engineering is about 70% improvisation, 20% stubbornness, and 10% hoping the math works out. The Frozen 5 made that musical sound again, and Elara realized they were laughing. That, Skarn said warmly, sounds perfectly human. Outside, the snow continued to fall on Epsilon 7's endless winter. But inside the research station, surrounded by 5 remarkable beings who had chosen to trust her, Elara felt warmer than she had in months. She pulled up the repair calculations, her mind already racing with possibilities. Humans, she thought with a smile, really were too stubborn